Okay, so thank you everyone for joining us tonight. This is our first live WeCare call. I'm very, very excited about it. I have some really, really special ladies on the video tonight with us. Normally we have our WeCare support calls by phone, but I thought this would be something really nice and just an added perk and something more meaningful and powerful to have a video chat. So this is our first live one. And I hope all goes well. We've had a couple of technical difficulties just getting started, but thank these ladies for their patience. So I want to play just a short video with you to show you kind of why we have WeCare, why it was started, how it began, that kind of good thing, just to give you just some information about who we are and what we do. And part of us even starting the organization was actually in honor of my mom, who was diagnosed with leiomyosarcoma in 2010, and actually April 8th, 2010, and she passed away 3 months later. So that just to show you how serious this disease is, and what we try to do is increase awareness about it, let people know what it is, how they can support it, how people are affected, but also how people can be able to be treated. So I want to play this quick video for you just so that you can see kind of an intro as to what we're about. So I think I'm going to do this right. Let's see.
We can't see the video.
It's like on a lag, like it's frozen.
Oh, no. Okay, I'm sorry, ladies.
No worries.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. I'll have to be sure I include that. It's kind of just like an introduction to why we created the call. First, I want to start, before we get into tonight, my background. Uh-oh. Hold on one second, ladies. Okay, my apologies. Let's start off. Can you ladies hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, let's start off with a word of prayer. Father God, we thank you for this time. We thank you for bringing us together. We pray that this discussion will be able to help someone, that it will reach someone, it will encourage and inspire others who are battling this disease to continue to fight on, to have faith and trust in you. We pray for patients. We pray for their treatment process. We pray for their families, caregivers, their medical team, and ask that you would just be what they need, work through the medication, increase or improve their quality of life. Ask that you would just be whatever they need in this hour. I pray that you would give them the strength and the courage to continue to fight. I want to thank these ladies who were a part of this call and ask that you would touch them in a very special way as only you can. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Okay, ladies. So first we have a very special guest here, Crystal Williams. I've known her for many years. She's a very special young lady to me. And we actually were able to I actually met her when she was still a little girl. I feel a little old saying that because she was so young when we met through her mother, who I've known for many years, and I've watched her grow into a beautiful, talented, brilliant young lady. It is unfortunate that our path was very similar. We both lost a parent to leiomyosarcoma, and that journey is a tough one. We share that experience, although it was a little different. We do share and understand how many emotions, how you can be frustrated when they had a good day, you were up, when they had a bad day, you were down. We just experienced all of that together. Um, and so her father eventually did succumb to leiomyosarcoma. So she is an LMS advocate, and doing all that she can to increase awareness about the disease, sharing her story. So I appreciate her for being a part of the call tonight. So I want to welcome to the WeCARE call Miss Crystal Williams, everyone. So, Crystal, we'll start with you. If you want to just, tell us something about yourself, your background, family history, anything you like to share. We'll start with you.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Again, I'm Crystal Williams, and um, I've been brought into the circle of advocacy through my family. As of now, 3 generations and counting has been battling or has battled some type of cancer. So their story is my story. I have become the voice for the family.
Mm-hmm.
When I was 15, my sister had osteosarcoma, and to date, she has been in remission for about 12 years. And 2 years ago, 3 years ago at this point, my father was diagnosed with leiomyosarcoma, of which the road was very uncertain and very rough. But through everything and connecting with Ms. Chandelier on this particular subject has for sure made me an advocate and really wanted to raise awareness. My background outside of this, I'm a fourth grade teacher. I teach STEM and robotics, and I actually recently had the privilege to attend a science conference in Dallas, one of the largest science conferences in Texas, where we dug really deep into is cancer in my DNA. We were able to actually work with samples and really work with pedigrees and to see how the mutation and the disruptions occur within one protein, one nucleotide, and things like that. So I was able to go with Ms. Chandelier to MD Anderson, where we dug a little bit deeper. It's really a passion and a life mission to raise awareness and education on the disease. So I kind of took initiative to attend workshops to see how these mutations occur, especially something as rare as leiomyosarcoma. So
Yeah.
my background, very lengthy background in a nutshell.
It's okay. Thank you so much. We're happy to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Um, Miss Mercedes Brooke, who I actually met very recently through social media, boy, the power of social media, let me tell you, it is
Yes.
something powerful. She is a young woman. I think we're both a part of one of the LMS groups through Facebook, and so
Yes.
some of those stories are inspiring. Some are reporting no evidence of disease. Some have to unfortunately report death. Some are reporting, asking for prayers
Prayers.
because they have scans coming up. And I saw her post saying with a beautiful new smile that she had, and that she was living 1 year of LMS. She was 1 year free of LMS. And so I thought, I need to introduce myself to her because I have only met one other person who has been free of the disease for a couple of years. So I thought I need to introduce myself. And she was just so warm and welcoming. And we kind of chatted a little bit. And I said, I want to do a video call. Can you be a part of it?
Of
And she was like,
course.
yes, whatever I can do. So she is really an inspiration in so many ways. Her personality is just bubbly and outgoing, and she just has this take charge attitude. And I believe that's one of the ways she was able to defeat this beast. And
Yes.
so I want to introduce Miss Mercedes Brooke.
Hi, everyone. Um, that's, well, actually, my real name is Deletnia. But since it's
Okay.
hard to say, I go by Mercedes, so it's much easier. But I'm actually going to be 1 year in
Mhm.
remission. I was diagnosed on December 8th. Well, actually, I went into the emergency room December 8th with a pain on my side, which I thought it was my appendix, and they couldn't tell what was wrong with me until they did the surgery. So on
Mhm.
December 10th, I went into full surgery. They were able to take out a 26 centimeter tumor. Then I
Wow.
was in a coma for 4 days with 15% chance to live. And pretty much they were telling my family to prepare themselves for the worst.
Mm.
I'm a big believer in
Wow.
God. And during that time, as I said, I was sleeping, I was given a choice, and that choice was either to stay or, not many people know, but was that choice, the choice to come back. And I chose to come back. God told me,
Mhm.
even though I was going to send you back, you're going to suffer, you're going to go through it, but you're going to be using your life as a tool, as a message to help others out there and to show them that it's okay. You can fight
Mhm.
and you can win. It's going to take time, but you're going to be
Mhm.
okay. You're going to
Yeah.
push through. So
Yeah.
now, December 14th, I woke up from my coma. I didn't know what was going on, and the doctor walks in and he tells me, hey, we diagnosed you with stage 4 cancer. It started in your uterus. It metastasized to your small intestine. So I had six
Wow.
inches of my intestine removed. Um, and you're cancer free. And I go, what? He said, yes, you had cancer, and we were able to remove all of it, and you're cancer free. The only thing you need to do is, of course, get your port, which is for chemo, so that as a
Mhm.
patient, you're listening to all of this and you're like,
Mhm.
what?
What? Yeah.
What? So the first
Yeah.
thing, the first thing, and I knew that I was going to be okay, like I mentioned, I also asked the doctor, can I be the one to tell each person in my family that I'm cancer free?
Mm.
So they were each one introduced into my room, and I was able to tell them this was wrong. Now I'm cancer free, and it's time to fight. And that's exactly what we did. December 31st was my first round of chemo, and I did
Mm.
eight months of chemo. And thank God, as I say, knock on wood, I'm still cancer free. Thank God.
That's a
So
blessing.
December 10th, it'll be 1 year. We're having a
That
big party. We're Hispanic. We party for we party for everything. So I would say this is my new birthday.
That's a true blessing. It really is. And a very similar story that you hear. Sometimes when you're diagnosed, you find yourselves already in late stages. And what I've learned just through reading and trying to gather information is that sarcoma can be buried so deep within the body that you are asymptomatic for years.
Hmm.
And then all of a sudden, something triggers it. I don't know what something triggers it, and then it starts growing, and you're not even aware that this thing is even happening until, like you said, you experience pain. In my mother's situation, she had around this time of year in the fall, November, she developed a cough. And so I grew up going to the doctor. When we were sick, we went to the doctor.
Hmm.
So I said, you need to just go see about that because it was a dry cough. And they thought, oh, well, you may have a respiratory infection or you may have bronchitis. So they were trying different medications. And it might work for a day to ease up the cough, but it kept coming back and it was just growing more and more persistent. And, if you have a cough for a couple of weeks, your chest starts to hurt. So it starts to cause some pain. And eventually they ordered a chest x-ray followed by CT and then a biopsy because her tumor was in her right lung. And for those who are tuning in, leiomyosarcoma will generally is a malignancy that attached to the smooth muscle, so it can be your lung. For a lot of women, the uterus, uterine LMS
Mm-hmm.
is what I'm finding coming to be very common. Blood vessels, there's also just to your internal organs. So it's a very just a very ugly, nasty disease, and there's not a lot of awareness about it until someone is diagnosed or you know or hear of someone that's been diagnosed. Because at first, when you hear, you can't even pronounce it, and you're going, "What is it called again?"
Or
You
spell
just
it.
can't even right or spell it. And then, naturally you go right to the internet. Okay, let me see what this is about. And everything is like bad news that you hear. Everything. It's like they're not giving these people any hope at all. I mean, just none. So, I mean, at your diagnosis, Mercedes, how did you feel? What was your first thought? Like, what?
The first thing I did was run to Google. But before that,
Mhm.
the reason I did find out what was wrong with me was I used to work and a cat walked in my path. The cat at my job made me trip and fall, and I
Mhm.
hurt my right side, and that's what made me go check myself because I got a pain from that. And
Mm.
from there, that's when they were able to find.
Mm.
It started at 17 centimeters, but it kept eating blood, as you
Mhm.
said, soft tissue, and that's
Mhm.
when it grew in 2 days to 26 centimeters. So that's
Wow.
why it just grows. But yeah, you run to Google, and the
Yeah.
first thing you read is leiomyosarcoma, rare, death, your percentage to live,
Mhm.
your prognosis to live. They give you 3 years, if that, and
Mhm.
it's all negative, 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 negative.
Yep.
There's no hope, pretty much,
Yeah.
and that's why my message on Facebook for a lot of people in that group that we're part of, every post that I saw in the past week was so depressing and
Mhm.
so sad. And yes, it's sad, but sometimes there's new people joining the group and you have to give them hope. And that's
Mhm.
why I said, you know
Right.
what? This is
Right.
what my journey is. This is what
Mhm.
I've been dealing with leiomyosarcoma. And
Mhm.
I say with cancer, I've had so much positive things happen. Is that something you can say with cancer? No.
No, not
Um,
often.
I had my 34th birthday. I was able to go to Disney, all expenses paid.
Mhm.
Um, I got a free photo shoot for cancer survivors. You can
Oh,
say that.
awesome.
I won a
Awesome.
contest to the smile.
Yeah.
I entered a contest one day with my local dentist, and boom, they loved my story
Mhm.
so much that they gave me an extreme smile makeover. Um,
What a blessing.
all for free. So I just say there's hope. If you do the research and you look and you find answers, and sometimes the answers that you find are not well with leiomyosarcoma.
Mhm.
It doesn't give you that hope when you're reading it online.
That's very true. Well, now, where were you treated, Mercedes? Where did you
Um,
receive your treatment?
I'm originally from New York, but I've been living in Florida. I'm in New York now, visiting family, because that's another thing. As cancer, they tell you you can't fly, you can't do
Right.
certain things, you
So
have to
many
contact
limitations.
so many no's. There's
Mhm.
so many
Yep.
no's.
Mhm.
But I was treated in Broward General in Florida. I live in South Florida, Miami nightclubs. I live
Okay.
I live right downtown Fort Lauderdale where everything's happening. And
Mhm.
I was a party person before I got sick. I would go clubbing from Wednesdays to Sundays with my husband. And the first thing I asked my doctor was this my fault? Did I
Yeah.
do this? Because
Mhm.
as a patient, you say, did I cause this on myself? Did
Mhm.
drinking cause it? Did I do something? And no, it's so rare. It's just one in a million. It's a fluke. It's
Yep.
a fluke.
It does seem like that. It really does.
There's no hereditary issue. I don't
Mhm.
like the cancers on my maternal side, but it
Mhm.
had nothing to do with it's bone cancer, bladder cancer,
Right.
but
Right.
there's no leiomyosarcoma, so it's not genetics.
Mm-mm. No,
Mm.
which is why research is so important. There's just not enough information, that's out there for people to know. Crystal, when I know when you mentioned that your sister had been diagnosed with osteosarcoma, and then now she's 12 years remission. Thank God for that.
Amen.
And when your dad was diagnosed, what did you guys, just tell the audience, what did you and your family experience during that time?
Well, when you hear that someone that you love has cancer, it's
Mhm.
automatically a punch in the gut. Um,
Mhm.
but we heard about his illnesses um, much earlier. So he was an assistant derrickman on an oil rig traveling the world, Malaysia, Africa, India, Singapore, you name it, he had been there. So when he was sick, was like, wait, Superman doesn't get sick. When does that
Mhm.
happen? Um, he would write it off as sinus infections as well as his doctors. So when you said sinus infections, I'm like, oh, there's a running record there that we need to
Mhm.
dig deeper into. A cold just may not be a cold anymore.
Mhm.
So
Right.
they would treat it with antibiotics or a Z-Pack and send him on his way, whether that be home or back to work. So they, after digging deeper, months later, they misdiagnosed him, I think, about 3 or 4 times. Which time is of essence with such a rare and aggressive disease.
Mhm.
They said he had lung cancer, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, um, things like that, to where you don't have anything to hold on to. Going through this
Mhm.
entire roadmap, as we call it,
Yep.
especially with dealing with cancer, you don't have anything positive. Okay, chemo for how long? Okay, what's next? What are we doing? Blood transfusions, you kind of have something structured to hold on to. We didn't have that because they didn't know what type of cancer. These oncologists had never seen it, which
Mhm.
if you devote your entire life to cancer and cancer research, you would feel that they would have had a better hold on the type of cancer he had.
You would hope.
And
You would hope.
you would hope, exactly. So that's obviously, well, not obviously, that's when I became an advocate and knew that I had to have a voice and have a stand.
Mhm.
And this organization gave me hope. I remember having a conversation with you, Miss Chandelier, and like, I
Mhm.
have no idea what to do. I have no idea. Can you help? And where everything came into play and scans came back from MD Anderson, and I'm like, LMS, what is that? Leo Mayo. And actually my sister, who is a survivor and who was a survivor at the time, was like, wait, I think Miss Chandelier has an organization that is LMS. Let's look into
Mhm.
that. And having a
Mhm.
conversation with you after Googling and WebMDing
Yeah.
everything, and
Mhm.
the outlook was far from positive. This organization and what I had in you gave us hope. Like, okay, you sat me down and said, Crystal, this is very rare and aggressive. We need to move quickly. Let's move forward. And I was very blessed and privileged to have a year and a half with my father. And he went through the clinical trials at MD Anderson. It was definitely roller coaster. One
Yeah.
month, the scans show that it's shrinking, it's not spreading. The next
Mhm.
month, it's growing.
Mhm.
So his was also on his right lung. He had a spot on his kidney and his liver. So I just remembered going through everything and trying to remain hopeful. Like, okay, we got into the clinical trials, which
Mhm.
at the state of the clinical trials, they've done the doxorubicin or the donirubicin. They've gone through what we learned when we went to MD Anderson's lab was A. They go through A, B, and C, and if those start or those are not effective, then they go to clinical trials, and it's a very limited option.
Yeah.
And there it's kind of like a shot in the dark. If you get this
Mhm.
one, you'll get, I think it was 40 to 60%, and the other one was 15 to 30. So
Mhm.
obviously we had a better chance with choice A. So
Mhm.
after going through those clinical trials and the outcome was not favorable for us, my dad chose to stop. He had a pig line. The pig line got blood
Mhm.
clots, and it was causing more complications.
I see you shaking your hair, Mercedes. Did you experience that with your pick line?
I had a PIC line. What they call it is called rolling veins.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Um, they said that they weren't able to access my veins because they would work for about an hour and then they'll just give up on working. So they put a PIC line on my right arm. You're wide awake, matter of fact, during that surgery.
Hmm.
And even though if they put you on painkillers, you can feel every moment of that. So I had my PIC maybe for like 3 or 4 days, and then they decided, you know what, let's go for a port. So
Mm.
they did a port surgery on me. His name is Ramon in honor of my grandfather. That's where my humor comes in, you know. You
Mhm.
have to stay positive with that. So
You do.
I had my port placed. I don't know if you can see it right here.
Mhm.
And now that I'm not on chemo for the past 2 months, I have to get it flushed every 4 to 6 weeks in order to make sure that it does not get blocked. Because that's
Mhm.
very important. You can catch a very bad infection and it can lead to, having to have the port removed and having a new
Yeah.
port placed. And
Mhm.
silly me, the first thing that I thought is I didn't want my port put on my left side near my heart because I have a Hello Kitty tattoo. So I said, I don't want my Hello Kitty to have a scar. Who thinks of that when you're going through it? And my parents are like, you're kidding me. You'll rather have a tube going from your right arm all the way to your left because you don't want a scar. And I'm like, yeah, it's Hello Kitty. You cannot scar her. So
Talk
that,
about humor.
I mean, how random is that? So even when I would go get chemo, my nurses would be like, "How's Ramon doing?" I'm like, "Yeah, he's behaving. He hasn't been behaving," and that's the port. So I
Mhm.
can feel. You can actually feel like when it's pulling, and you
Mhm.
can feel when you're getting sick through
Mhm.
because of your port. So
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
pick lines and ports. But and then there's people who don't want to get a port so that they don't have a scar. And I'm like, you don't understand how important it is to get one.
Yeah.
Because if you put the chemicals through your veins, that's
Mhm.
actually
Right.
worse than having it done through the port.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Wow. Crystal, some of the treatment options that your dad went through, I know that we went through like a misdiagnosis, which I think happens more often than it should. And it's kind of like what you said. So many oncologists are just unfamiliar with it, especially if they're not in a very large city. Sometimes they
Right.
don't know what it is, they don't know how to treat it, or they misdiagnose it the first or second time,
Hmm.
not knowing exactly what it is, and then not knowing how to treat it. So I know for there was misdiagnosis with your dad, but how long did it take for them just to get to the actual diagnosis of LMS?
About 3 months.
Mm.
I want to say every other month there was a different diagnosis.
Mhm.
So that's why they started with kind of the catch-all. Like if you get sick, they give you a catch-all antibiotic. Um, I am so familiar, unfortunately, with the different names of these chemotherapies that when I go now, they feel like, "Are you in the medical field?" And I'm like, "No,
Mhm. Right.
unfortunately, I've just lived in a lot of hospitals because of
Mhm.
my
Hmm.
family illnesses, and so I know doxorubicin and daunorubicins and how
Mhm.
the rubicins are the first line of defense. It's kind of a catch-all. When I don't
Mhm.
know, and we know with cancer, really, time is of the essence. They give the
Right.
catch-all. So it was difficult knowing that they didn't know, they were unaware, and he was in Opelousas, Louisiana. So it was small, especially compared to MD Anderson, where they have um, more oncologists
Sarcoma
well
specialist.
versed with different types of cancers.
Mhm.
So that was always a challenge. Like, what if we would have gotten diagnosed correctly the first time? Those 3 months were like life and death, life or death. So being misdiagnosed, it still plays a part in my everyday. Like, what would have happened if?
Right.
So if we would
What
have
if?
got the right answers at a different time and it wouldn't have spread, I didn't find out until my dad was passing that when he was diagnosed a year and a half ago, that it was stage 4. Had no idea. No idea. And that, I think that kind of got lost in translation from Opelousas, Louisiana to transferring scans and all of that to MD Anderson. And maybe he just didn't want his children to know that that's what it was. That was his reality.
Mhm.
So,
I know for us, I was with my sister and I initially when my mom was diagnosed, we were with her. She was diagnosed and I know you're not familiar with this name, Mercedes, but Kelsey Siebel is a large, they have large clinics here throughout the city. It's a large organization. They have clinics and urgent cares here.
Okay.
And she was diagnosed at a Kelsey Siebel clinic because that's where she was going for treatment prior to that.
Mhm.
And it's really sad how these people go into medical practice and have zero bedside manner. And I don't know if you've ever experienced this during your process, but the doctor who diagnosed her had zero bedside manner. And that was very disheartening to us because, for one, he didn't know anything about the disease. He knew that it was a cancer. He identified that there were multiple tumors and that it was inoperable. That much he knew. But he basically said it like as if she was ordering a turkey sandwich, and it was like, well, no, we don't have turkey. We have tuna today. I mean, just uncaring. And, me and my sister and my mom were looking at each other going, what? Okay, what did he just say? Was it cancer? And we're trying to grasp this.
Yeah.
So we're all crying and holding on to each other and trying to be strong. And I'm saying, okay, we're going to get you an MD Anderson. We're going to get you the best care that I know you can get. Now, me being a former employee of MD Anderson, I've always worked on the administrative side with the VPs
Mhm.
and some of the PAs, but never on the clinical side. So I never had an opportunity, thank God, to actually be a patient. But that experience within a week, I was on the phone every day, nonstop, getting information over to MD Anderson for my mom to get an appointment. And just to go through that process and just to see the shift in patient care that she received was tremendous. And that is, I didn't understand how powerful that could really be when you're getting just special patient care, people who actually care about you and who are concerned for what you're going through. And I don't know if you've experienced that or had a bad experience or good experience, but that really kind of helps you along your journey when you're experiencing that, when you run into those type of people.
Yeah. I agree with you. When I had my surgery, I had the best, I didn't even know, the best
Mhm.
GYN oncologist in South Florida. And he was so well versed that he was
Mhm.
able to diagnose me right away with leiomyosarcoma. He looked at the
Oh,
tumor, they sent it to the lab, and
mhm.
they were quick. It, he
That's
said
awesome.
he said there was 15% chance, and we were not messing around. I
Mhm.
got 6 pints of blood,
Mhm.
and my diagnosis was quick. But after my surgery, they sent me upstairs with no painkillers. So
Mm.
I spent 3.5 hours screaming and saying every bad word in the book. And as a New Yorker, we have a bad mouth. I'm not going to say a few of those words because they were really, really to the point where I was like, you know, every nurse and doctor, I almost died and now you're going to kill me. I'm here with no
Mhm.
painkillers. And they're like, press the button, you're okay. The drip is coming. And I'm like, I have no drip. So after that, my oncologist and my GYN specialist, they went off on the hospital. They were like, how are you going to send a patient upstairs? And that right there just showed me how much of an advocate my doctors
Mhm.
were at that time and how caring they were to the point
Mhm.
where they put me in my own private room. Then again, I had like 50 visitors every hour on the hour because, we're a
Mhm.
large family. But they were always on top of everyone at the hospital. They're like, "Do you understand what this child is going through?
Right.
This is so rare, and you're sending her upstairs with no medicine." And
Mm.
I just had gotten a full hysterectomy, and I even was put into a patient room where the patient had just gotten surgery, and she was speaking to her doctor. You know, I'm nosy. And she was talking, oh, doctor, I haven't taken my medicine for 3 days, and the patient was an AIDS patient. And in my mind, I'm like, how are you going to put me in a room with a patient like this if I'm going to have surgery? You understand that? So there's like a whole bunch of
Mhm.
stuff that's going in your mind as a patient. Like,
Yeah.
I'm already dying, and
Right.
now you're going to put me in a room where I'm like, oh God, you know, what's going to happen next? So it was
Mhm.
just so much stuff as a
Yeah.
patient. And I'm sure as a family member, you're like, they're already going through so much. Why are you going to
Mhm.
put them through even more? But I'm lucky.
Mhm.
I'm one
Mhm.
of the lucky ones, and I'm blessed. I've had nurses who I still communicate with, and they
Yeah.
write me, and I write them, and I check up on them through WhatsApp, and we communicate all the time. So I can say that I've been lucky, even through chemo and everything.
Mhm.
But not many people are.
That's true. That's
And one
true.
thing that they do advocate is for you to go see a sarcoma specialist.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
what if your insurance doesn't cover it?
That's an issue that I met a young lady recently. Her mom lived in a small town in Louisiana, in southern Louisiana, and she was diagnosed with LMS. She had come to Houston for treatment at MD Anderson, and then after about a year of treatment, her insurance wasn't accepted by MD Anderson anymore. And it's almost as soon as they didn't take her insurance anymore, her health started to decline, almost like immediately. And I'm going,
Hmm.
these people really don't understand. Insurance companies, pharmaceutical companies, they really just don't understand how aggressive this disease is and how important it is for people to have continued treatment in order to shrink this disease. What I've
Yeah.
learned from just speaking with, Crystal mentioned that she and I went to the lab to, get a whole presentation on like 30 different subtypes of sarcoma cancers. But in the lab, just how they're working nonstop trying to find a cure and trying to make treatment options better for the patients. And I think they need to see that. Insurance companies, pharmaceutical companies, and they look at it like, well, it's a rare disease, so not many people are affected. But yes, they are, because it's more than just that person. It's their family, it's their friends, it's their coworkers, it's their neighbors, it's church members, it's sorority sisters, fraternity brothers. It's
Yeah.
a whole. When you take one person, you can multiply that by 1,000 easily.
Yes. And
All those people are impacted.
I'm sure you were impacted financially. You know,
Yeah,
I had
yeah.
a really lucrative job before I was put as a disabled American. I could no longer work because
Mhm.
you can't have stress anymore. And
Right.
stress can cause the cancer to come back. So,
Right.
how, as a person on Social Security disability, thank God that I'm not sure everyone knows, but leiomyosarcoma is on the fast track list in order for you to get Social Security income. So
As it
if you
should be. As it should be.
so it's on the fast track, but you still have to
Mhm.
wait
Yeah.
6 months before you get any help from the government.
Mhm.
So how are you supposed to afford to pay doctor co-payments, medicine that painkillers that cost 800, creams that cost thousands of dollars,
Yeah.
surgery that was $108,000, and you have to
Yeah.
pay some of that up front. So it's like, yeah, it's rare, but it's expensive.
Yeah.
So you do need the community to help you,
You
and
do.
you do start GoFundMe accounts. And
Mhm.
it's the most humblingest thing in the world where you have to find yourself not begging but asking for help.
Yeah. You
And
do.
you do, and it's cancer is real, and they don't want to cover people with cancer. So
No.
if you have a pre-existing condition, a
Mhm.
lot of companies don't want to help you.
Right.
Mhm.
You
Right.
can't, and it's funny because I mentioned this with my family. We have a home in New York, and my parents are trying to put the house under their kids' names. And the lawyer says, we can't put it under your child's name that had cancer because
Mm.
she can't be on it. And my mom is like, but that's my daughter. And they said because she has this pre-existing condition, she cannot be on the paperwork. So it's like a lot of cannot. You cannot, and you cannot have kids. In my case, I cannot have kids. I had a hysterectomy, um, but the doctors say they don't recommend me to even adopt. So there's a lot of
Wow.
cannots
Mm.
Wow.
with this disease. And so you want to hear like the positive, and
Right.
you want to advocate, and you
Mhm.
want to show a face to what this disease is,
Mhm.
and just to show you that you can survive and strive.
Mhm. Mhm.
One thing you said, there are a lot of things that I'm not a patient, so I don't know where you're coming from per se, but being in hospitals and living in MD Anderson and living in, those types of medical environments, I appreciate what you said. We can advocate and
Mhm.
how we have a voice, we can be a voice. There are a lot of things we can't do, and a lot of things that I would rest my hat on. Like my father would never be able to walk me down the aisle. However,
Mhm.
I can advocate on his behalf. I can say, you know what, maybe you should get this cold looked into to where
Right.
maybe the early detection, things like that, can save a life. Each one reach one, and that's exactly what we're doing here. And
Yep.
Mhm.
what you said earlier, like asking yourself why it happened and things like that. Why was cancer so prevalent in our lives? Why was cancer so prevalent in
Mhm.
our family lives? And being able to dig a little deeper as to like, okay, is it geographic? Is it just a random mutation that occurred? Like I said, my sister had a type of sarcoma. My dad had a type of sarcoma.
Yeah.
My niece was diagnosed 2 years ago with leukemia. So being able to know that, okay, that was rare, and I would joke with my father, and this is where the humor comes into place. Like, Dad, you had to get the rarest cancer. You couldn't just get, something that we can cut out. You had to go and get the rarest cancer. I said, now let's go
Yeah.
play the lottery and see if we can hit the jackpot with those odds.
Yeah.
4 in 1 million cancer cases.
You hit it.
Mhm.
You hit it right on the nose.
Things like that. And the same struggles with payment, and struggles with insurance. My dad, we had to reach out to a lot of different resources, is where the Cynthia Solomon Homes Foundation also came into play. I remember being on the call like, Michigan, who can I call? This is being a burden to my father, who wouldn't miss a day of work
Hmm.
at all, to where he couldn't return back to work because of this illness. He couldn't pay his bills and afford the lifestyle he was used to living, and he worked so hard for, because
Mhm.
when you think about it, it boils down to a random protein or a nucleotide disruption or mutation within his DNA.
Yeah.
So those unfortunate circumstances, my sister, yet being in remission for 12 years, has very a lot of limitations on what she can do as a career. She may want to, however, or before her daughter got sick, she wanted to return back to the workforce, but she couldn't. She feels
Mhm.
rain coming, and having a metal prosthesis placed inside her leg. There are so many
Mhm.
limitations, but um, this is what we're here for. This is why the scripture reads, the steps of a divine man are ordered by the Lord. And I say this so many times, but he has brought us all together to be an advocate and to be able to lean on each other as iron sharpening iron, and be advocates for such a greater cause. And
Mhm.
to have a silver lining that one day there will be a cure, there will
Hmm.
be um, the right steps and the right order set in place of therapies and radiation, to
Hmm.
where LMS will not be a death sentence. We will be
Mhm.
Yeah.
able to Google it and say, oh, those odds, okay, maybe that gives me something to hold on to,
Yeah.
versus
Mhm.
when we Googled it, we're like, wait, what, 13%? What?
Right.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, what am I supposed to do with this, knowing that
Mhm.
this cancer is so rare and so aggressive?
Hmm.
Yeah. That's one of the thing, why we started the Cynthia Solomon Homes Foundation. After about it, things happened so fast for me and my family. We just didn't even have time to wrap our brains around it. It happened so quick. And about a year or so after my mom passed, I mean, I was just grieving. I was just walking around. almost numb every day. And I'm the type of person who tries to be very poised and controlled, and and there were times I would just have a meltdown at the grocery store, and because I was trying to hold all of those emotions in.
Yeah.
And so I decided, you know what? I want to try and help other people or reach out to other people who may be experiencing this and not have anyone else to lean on. Because when my mom was sick, we didn't have anyone to call to say, hey, you've experienced it. What was your experience like? What did you guys do? And so when my mom had a good day, when she was feeling her spirits were up, I had a good day. When
Mhm.
she was sick and down and having a bad day, I was dragging on the floor. And one thing that I tried to do was be very strong in front of her. I never let her see me. One time she saw me cry. That was at the initial diagnosis. And I think her, my sister, and myself were all so shocked that it just hit us like a ton of bricks. And immediately emotions just took over. And after that point, I let her see me as a pillar of strength. And I was always saying, you're going to be fine. We're going to beat this. We're going to get through
Yeah.
this. And so as me and my family were talking to the doctors, my sister and my dad, we were getting all of the news. But we didn't share that with my mom. We didn't want to burden her with
Mhm.
that. And, during that time, sometimes I felt guilty. I felt bad because I still had to go to work. I was studying in school. I was
Mhm.
studying for my insurance exam. And I felt guilty because I was still trying to do all of those things and be at the hospital and be at appointments and take off of work.
Mhm.
And, it's that your family, people who are caregivers, you just trying to find a balance. How can you balance? Because, like you said, I think both of you talked about how expensive things can be. You could spend $30 just before you go in the building,
Yeah.
Right.
either with gas or parking. And you had to valet
Yeah.
because they couldn't walk far, so you had to valet right in front of the building. That was $15 before you even got inside. And
Mhm.
then whatever the copay was or deductible was, and like you said, Mercedes, $800 for creams and prescription. It's like, it is so stressful. And so what we try to do with the organization is not only advocate and tell people about it, and I really think they can see and feel our passion, but to
Mhm.
also raise funds to support research, try and improve the quality of life of people who are affected
Yeah.
by the disease. And then also earlier this year we started what's called a WeCARE grant. What we're on right now is our WeCARE call, which is just we consider all real emotions, because it's an emotional roller coaster. And
Yeah.
some people don't understand that roller coaster that you're on, especially with what seems like an unknown cancer. It's not breast, it's not lung, prostate, those you've heard of. But the shocker of leiomyosarcoma, you're trying to wrap your brain around that. You have
Yeah.
all of these bills that are mounting. And so we created the WeCare grant. And we have a grant for $500 every quarter where we're trying to help patients with some of those expenses. It's not a whole lot, but the
It
effort,
helps.
is to try and help people,
Yes.
pay for parking, pay for medication, pay for a babysitter for a day so you could spend the day at the hospital with your wife or
Someone
your
to clean your
your husband.
house.
Yes, yes, and prepare meals.
Yes. You know how hard it is? Or
Yep,
someone who's just there to just be there with you. It's
yep,
difficult.
just to
It's
be
just
there.
difficult.
It
Um,
is.
and you mentioned the parking. I did my research, and as a patient with cancer, I couldn't walk long distances. I
Mhm.
was with a cane for a few months, and I said, you know what? I'm too cute to be with a cane. So I stopped using my cane. But I was able to get a handicap pass. And a
Mhm.
lot of people look at me and they go, since my hair grew back 2 months ago, I didn't have hair. Don't have eyebrows. That was a joke. I didn't want to paint them. And the menopause that I'm going through right now, the sweats. By the time I have an eyebrow, the other one's gone. But the handicap pass came in handy. But people look at you like, what's really wrong with you?
Mhm.
There's nothing wrong with you. And just because
Mhm.
physically you can't see what's wrong with me doesn't mean that there's
Right.
something going on. And so the
Right.
handicap pass, I'm just sharing with everyone, and depending on your state, but
Mhm.
you can access that as a cancer. If you ask your oncologist, they're able to fill that form out for you. So
Oh,
that's
that's
very
good.
important. And
Yes.
especially and you can go from state to state. So like I said,
Mhm.
I'm in New York right now. My Florida handicap pass can work in New York. So I don't
Mhm.
have to pay for parking anywhere. And it
That's
only cost
good.
me $2.
That's good.
So that's
That's
great.
good.
So like I said,
Yes.
and you mentioned something about helping others because you didn't know
Mhm.
anyone and you didn't have any information from anyone. So I said that God is using me as a tool
Mhm.
to help others.
Mhm.
So I have at least maybe 7 people I'm helping through Messenger, either
Mhm.
through Instagram or through Facebook, and they ask me questions like, what is this? I went through, like, my chemo was different from your dad's,
Mhm.
Crystal. I had Gemzar and Taxotere,
I know
and
Texas too.
oh boy,
Mhm.
that is, oh Lord, I
Mhm.
don't wish that on my worst enemy. And then I would get the Neulasta shot after that, and
Mhm.
the Neulasta shot would bring down
Mhm.
your
Yeah.
your counts, so you couldn't be around certain people for a while. So I would tell my family, I love you, but if you have a cold and if you're sick,
Right.
I know you love me so much and you don't want me to, you don't want to see me in pain, but it's better if you stay away from me
Mhm.
because you can get me sick.
Mhm.
So, I'm
That was
taking,
such a nice way of putting it. I was the daughter and the sister and the niece. Like, do you
get
need?
out.
If you need this, you need to go.
Hmm.
If you need this tissue, you have to
Right.
go. I'm sorry. And I was
Yeah.
just like, did you just sneeze? Oh
Hmm.
no, you gotta go. Give me
I'm
some
like,
mask.
I'm looking at people like, did you wash
Yeah.
your hands before you came into my house to see me?
Right. You have to
So,
wash them and sanitize them and put on an N93 mask for airborne and particulates.
Mhm.
And you have to sit in the corner and don't talk in anybody's face. So it's my dad, my sister, and my niece.
it's
Her friends
funny.
come over, and I'm like, no, mm-mm,
It's funny
no.
because, like I said, I'm here visiting in town, and I came from 90-degree weather, and it's like maybe 48 here
Yeah.
down. And my sister's like, let's go on a field trip. And I'm like, oh, great. We're going to jump on the subway. I'm like, oh, God, German-fested New York. Sure, why not? So I'm on the train with my face mask. And, people are staring at you. And I'm
Yeah. What's
staring at
wrong
them
with her?
like, I'm like, it's
Mhm.
not for you. It's for me. I'm protecting
Mhm.
myself from germs from you. So
Right.
even if right now I'm on remission, I you live every day scared because
Mhm.
this disease is so rare that you don't know when it's coming back. You don't
Yeah.
It's not a breast cancer. It's not
Yeah.
a lung cancer. You know what your outcome is. You can remove a lung, you can remove your breast. But this is blood based. And that's what I've
Mhm.
had to explain to my family. They're like, "Oh, let's go get a second opinion. Oh, let's go over here. Let's go to there's one in New York, a sarcoma doctor." And I'm like, "Guys, this is my diagnosis. This is what's going on. This is how we're gonna deal with it, and we're gonna head on. We got this."
Mm-hmm.
But it's just hard.
Yeah.
I'm getting scans now in December, and we call it scanxiety
Yeah.
because you're anxious every day. And how many people, and you've noticed it on Facebook, are always asking for like prayers, pray for me. My
Mhm.
scans are up, and when you do see this, it scans, you're like, oh, what are my tumor markers?
Mhm.
What is showing up on my scans? Do you see anything? Is there anything? So even though you're NED, you're still
Yeah.
freaking
Still
out. You're like,
nervous.
oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you you try to live a life where you don't try to get cancer again. So you cut the
Mhm.
red meat out. You don't drink alcohol. You try to prolong as much as you can. But when
Mhm.
you get diagnosed with LMS, you can die,
Right.
and you're faced with that. You're gonna die, and you're always gonna have this cancer. It's in remission, but it's there. It's
Mhm.
sleeping. It's
Mhm.
dormant, so it can come back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's stuff that you have to prepare as you prepare your caretakers. I have a husband, and as his wife, I told him, if anything ever, it's conversations you don't want to have. I'm only 34, and I told him, if ever something were ever to happen to me, I give you permission to find a new spouse.
Mhm.
Who says stuff like that? Who has to be put in that position when
Mhm.
you're dealing with a cancer like this, or having your mom worry where they're gonna bury you? Like,
Mhm.
is your husband gonna allow her to take your body and travel to Dominican Republic because you want to take her over there? So I know it's hard as a family member to see the person going through it. And
Mhm.
as a
Yeah.
patient, we try not to share too much with your family so we don't see you suffering, because we're
Mhm.
suffering, but you're suffering worse because you don't know what to do. You're left with that.
Yes.
How can I
Yes.
help you?
Mhm.
What
Yes.
can I do? I would rather put myself in your steps than you have to go through it. And
Mhm.
my sister's a nurse. And like you said, your family stops what they're doing. My family flew to Florida. My parents are retired. They live in Dominican Republic. They flew to Florida. My sisters are, one is a teacher. She teaches special ed. And the
Mhm.
other one's a school nurse. So they took a whole month from work. And they were like, I don't care if I get fired. Fire
Mhm.
me. My sister is more important than a job.
Mhm.
So, like you say, family goes, I think you experience it more than we do as a patient,
Mhm. Yeah.
because it's a routine for us. Oh, we're going to
Yeah.
chemo. Oh, we're going to do this. But you, as a family member, you're sitting watching us get these chemicals, and you're like, God, why? Like,
And we feel
why?
so helpless. It's
Helpless.
like,
It's that
and it's so
helplessness.
frustrating because it's like, I want to do so. You're like snappy with everybody. Anybody get out of line, you like, okay, let me get with you right quick because
Let me
I
Right.
put
can't do
let me put you
anything
in your
else,
place.
right?
You don't want to take the New Yorker out of me. So it's true.
Right. I'm telling
Uh,
you, you just come out of yourself because you feel so helpless, and I would be so angry
yeah.
because my mom was suffering and I couldn't do anything. And I did not like being in that position. And
Mhm.
like you said, I know for me, even to this day, I just still, carry so much pain, emptiness,
Mhm.
and guilt because I had to go to work and, it took forever to get family medical leave. Um, but I might work 1 or 2 days a week or work from home or work from her house. And then, me and my family, we were on rotations to stay with her at night. And it was so difficult. And I mean, when I came out of the room with her, I might be sliding down the wall because I'm just like, oh my God, why her? And like Crystal said, she's come to the realization and accepted that, her dad won't walk her down the aisle. I've been married 17 years and I just had a son. And I think every day how much my mom would have loved that little boy to pieces, and he probably would have been calling her mommy because she would have
Mhm.
loved him so much. And
Yep.
even though I can have that thought, it also makes me feel so sad and angry at the same time that she's not here, and I have to pray and ask God to really give me peace with that because and I still honestly struggle with that, with her not being here, because I think, why couldn't I be a mom before she left? Why couldn't she see me be a mom? Years and years before, when I was praying and asking God for a baby, and then out of the blue he comes, and I tell you, he is such a blessing to my life. He really is. He helps me, with my sadness, with my anxiety about my mom, but I have the organization, so it's always on my mind. It's always
Mhm.
on my heart. I never, I think when I was 30, we bought our house. When we were 30, we built it. And I was talking to my husband going, man, I'm 30. What have I accomplished? What have I done? And I was trying to figure out what my purpose is, and God knows I did not want it to be this. God
Yeah.
knows I would have taken any other thing than to have the Cynthia Solomon Homes Foundation, but it is embedded in me. I feel like I have to do something to help people, to touch them, reach them, walk with them, talk with them in any way that I possibly can, cry with them.
Yeah.
And it means so much when you're going through that, because tensions are high. Like I said, I was mad at everybody. It
Yeah.
was like, don't say anything wrong because
Yeah.
you might get it today.
Yep.
You
Yep.
just might get
Right.
Yep.
it.
I know with me. Also, I wanted to. My sister has called in finally. I just wanted to introduce her to everybody else. This Cynthia Tom Homes Foundation. She's the person I advocate with, and we could really dislike each other one day, but when it comes down to being
Hmm.
an advocate, we stand arm in arm, and people are like, "Wait,
Hmm.
what? What just happened?" But she's definitely my partner in crime. My story is a derivative. It originated with her story when I was 15, and she had a 2-month-old. So I just wanted to introduce my sister Davita Williams to the call. She's on speakerphone, so you can
Nice.
say hello. Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Hi, Davida.
So I know we had to have kind of the hard conversations too, where okay, Crystal, this is what's going to happen. My dad gave me his will, and I was like, I don't want that. What are you doing?
Mhm.
Right?
And I know my biggest thing was that I like to be in control of things, and so I've assumed that position in my family.
Hmm.
When anything goes wrong, I remember doctors talking to me before they would talk to Davita, and I'm like, oh, I'm the younger sister.
Mhm.
Just FYI, I'm the baby girl, and that's just the role I assume. So I remember kind of being a pillar as well and being stoic. I would break down on the way there, but when I got there, you would never know anything what
Right.
was going on.
Hmm.
My makeup was that's how I kept it together. I would say
Hmm.
I put on way too much makeup to be ruining with these tears.
Hmm.
I put on way
You
too much.
sound like my sister.
Right. And so my thing was when I couldn't be in control of how the cancer was reacting to the chemotherapy, I would tell my father, "You need to stop eating this. You need to do this. You need to eat that. No processed meat, no processed cheese."
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
he was like, "Well, what can I eat? Nothing. You can only eat that." And
You're
Water.
going vegan. You're going
right,
Water.
vegan.
right. And
You're
he was
drinking
like,
water.
I'm gonna eat and I'm gonna live. And
Yeah.
he never said while I could. But I remember him very distinctly saying, I'm going back to work in December. We're gonna have a party, this cancer is gonna be gone, which was his way, and I spoke to someone about this the other day, was his way of saying, this is it for me. I remember
Hmm.
him giving me his passport, and I was always envious because he traveled the world. He lived in 57 years. He lived, and I remember
Mhm.
calling Davita,
Wow.
wailing. He gave me his passport. That means he's given up. Which, at the end of the day, ultimately, that it came to pass. It came to fruition. That's what was going on in his mind. But just I just wanted to be in control. I had to be in control, and
Hmm.
know that my father and we would butt heads because we looked just alike. We acted just alike. We had the same stinky attitude. Baby girl is in control. He called me Baby Gotch. And I was in control. And this is what you're going to eat. This is what you're not going to eat. I brought you
Yeah.
donuts, but you can't eat them. I don't even know why I brought them. His thing was shipping donuts. And,
Yeah, because leiomyosarcoma loves sugar.
right.
Hmm.
So just knowing that, okay, I have to be this person for you. Just allow me to be this person. At the end of the day, he made his own call.
Yeah.
Uh, October 27th, he was intubated. On 26th, he was intubated and was on a ventilator to help him live. When we talk
Mm.
about a dry cough, his cough persisted for a very long time, so much so where after the complications with the PICC line, they put him on blood thinners.
Mm.
And he coughed to where he broke a blood vessel on the same tumor, on the same
Mm.
side of his lung that his tumor was on, and his lung filled with blood and it collapsed. He drove himself to the hospital.
That's the
And
strength of a warrior right there.
right, and they intubated him, and I'm like, wait, Superman has the rarest cancer, and he's intubated. Wait, okay, so this must be kryptonite because this never would happen. And so on the 27th, my sister and I was standing there for him. They took the tube out, and which for a glimmer, maybe 15 minutes, we saw a light of positivity. The respiratory therapist came in and was like, oh, he seems to be doing better. The blood clots have passed, but they were too weak. So I got a chance with my father to say, okay, I'll listen this time. I'm listening to you. What would you like me to do? What
Mhm.
if, Father, you need to be reintubated?
Mhm.
He told me, hell no. And the one time I had to listen, the one time I had to listen, I said, okay, well, if I have to respect your wishes, you don't want to live on a ventilator, I understand.
Mhm.
And 2 days later, they thought he was going to pass that night. 2 days later, after it rained and the skies opened on All Saints Day, um, he passed away, which was interesting how everything happened because I'm like 2 days. He wasn't under sedation to make him more comfortable. His breathing was labored, but the nurse was like, "Oh yeah, he's not really here with us. He's not going to be able to hear you." And I was like, whatever, lady. I was talking to my dad like he
Mhm.
here. I was talking noise and saying, I can't believe you got me up.
Mhm.
I haven't eaten. And just trying to make light of the situation. And that was the day where I was confirmed that God existed.
Mm.
My father, after being told that he couldn't hear us, things like that, I'm telling him, this is hard for me, Daddy, but we're going to be okay. Davina and I and the kids, we're going to be okay. And I said, Davida, something happened. I touched his shoulder after not getting any reaction all night.
Mhm.
His eyes flinched. And I was like, okay, I've been up all night. I'm a little hungry. Maybe I'm delirious.
Mhm.
That could totally be the case. And the nurse was like, well, do you want me to give him some more morphine? I'm like, no, we're okay. I touched his shoulder again, and he flinched again. And I'm like, did you see that? Like, what's going on? And he opened his left eye, the side I was on, and a tear fell.
Mm.
And blew my mind because God knew that I needed some type of confirmation that he was there
Mhm.
for me throughout my 13 hours of standing by his side, sleeping out of
Yeah.
ICU, things like that. And I called my sister on speakerphone, like we're here. You see how we do.
Mhm.
And I gave her the rundown and said, if you have anything to say, I think you
Say it
should.
now. Mhm.
And Davida on speakerphone said, I love you, we love you, we'll be okay. We'll be good. It's okay. And he opened his right eye and a tear fell. And shortly after we both chimed in and said, I love you, he took 2 breaths. A lot of people say, oh, his last breath. But
Mhm.
there were 2 breaths, and you could see kind of him deflate. And
Mhm.
just to even have that confirmation is a blessing in itself that he heard everything we were saying and everything that I was saying, talking noise all night long. Some of those I'm like, ooh, if I'd have known he was listening, I probably wouldn't have said that. but to have that in the end and to know that within the whole journey, there's so much more. There was a foundation built, even though it's so bittersweet. It's so bittersweet. But to have that, and then 4 months later, my niece being diagnosed, and I'm like, okay, well, looks like we're gonna get suited and booted again. Let's
Mhm.
Yeah.
like and being able to be that person in my family for my niece and my sister, and just to be an advocate and to have this organization and all of it and everything.
Thank you, Crystal. I found myself getting a little teary-eyed because I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
well, let me, I remember that because I remember talking with Crystal throughout that process. And then, of course, it makes me remember, what happened, on my end.
You
I
relive
said,
it.
yeah, you relive it. And,
Mhm.
some things you try to keep inside because you don't want to think about it because it'll bring out all those emotions. Like I remember the day, I remember how I felt, I remember the time, I remember everything that happened in the couple of days before my mom passed because she passed 3 days after my birthday, 3 days after my
Mm.
33rd birthday. And I remember that evening her saying, my sister singing Happy Birthday at midnight, and my mom said, I'm singing in my heart.
Mm.
And that just broke me. And after that, I just never wanted to celebrate birthdays anymore. I didn't feel like I could. It wasn't celebratory for me anymore. And it just always stayed with me. So when I met you online, Mercedes, I was so inspired. And I was like, look at her.
Watch out now.
She's like, whatever. I'm not trying to let this defeat me. So I really just love your energy and your story. And I want to thank both of you ladies for sharing. I know we could talk all night. I'm telling
Yeah.
you.
Yes.
Cheers, not all of that. We could go all night. I
I
know, but I've kept you
I
ladies
do have
long
one
enough.
request, and it's a young lady that's really sick right now. And I know you saw the picture that I
Mhm.
posted of her. Her name is Natalie
Mhm.
Garcia. I don't know
Mhm.
this young lady. I've never met her, but we would chat in the past, and I'm asking for
Mhm.
prayer requests for her. I'm actually going on, knock on wood, since I've been fighting a cold myself. I'm going to a candlelight visual that they're holding outside of her apartment in Yonkers, in New York, because I made a promise to her. And she goes, Mercedes, one day I'm going to host a LMS walk. And I told her, don't worry, I'm going to fly out for that same walk and I'm going to bring my family with me. So I'm going to be present that day for her because she doesn't
Yeah.
want to see anyone and she's already at her end. So
Mhm.
it's like, I always say prayers move, faith moves mountains, and
Mhm.
prayers are very important. So you have to be a firm believer in God. So if that's something that you
Yes.
have to hold on to, it's
Yes.
God is real.
Mhm.
God God gives people what they can handle. And if
Mhm.
your dad, Crystal, was able to handle it, your mom was strong enough, and they're warriors. They were warriors. And
Mhm.
I'm sure they never showed you how hard it was because they want to make you feel better for them. So,
Yeah.
like you said, we can talk all night.
We could.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but
That's really
and
true.
I'm an open book, and I'm always here. And I tell people, if you ever want to reach out to me, write me on Messenger. Any questions, anything you need, anyway, I can help. I'm there. Like I said, Mercedes Brooke. That's how you find me. Instagram, I'm always hashtagging Sarcoma, and I pretty much post everything, so everything is there. So as much as you can advocate and share about it, then that's
Right.
all we ask for. It's
Right.
it's to spread what LMS is. We're a purple ribbon, not a pink
Mhm.
one.
Right.
So we
And
need to get
Yeah.
that purple out there.
right. And through everything,
Yeah.
I think more so than anything, we've become resources. I know when I
Mhm.
called Miss Chandlerlin, I'm like, listen, I need to know where. And being able to be a student and really take notes and really learn. And
Yeah.
so, as you said, if there is anything anybody ever needs in regards to LMS, being an advocate, getting resources, getting funding, because I've done my best to work the system.
Mhm.
And really take advantage of the resources that are out there and the people who really pledge their life's mission as well to raising awareness and finding a cure. So,
Mhm. I want to. I did find. I went to your Facebook page, Mercedes. So about the young lady, I just want to show her picture to
She's
everyone. Can you see
28.
that?
Yes, she's 28 and she has a 5-year-old son. And she's part of
So
the
that's just a
LMS group.
testament. To show that there people, I think, once thought this was an old person's disease or older people got it, but we're finding that people younger and younger are being diagnosed with this disease.
Yes.
And this could be someone in your family, someone that you love, a very good friend, a coworker, just anyone. So I just, in addition to Mercedes, solicit your prayers for Natalie and her family, because it is quite a challenge. We just want to keep her and her family lifted up in prayer, and just pray that God's will be done, whatever that is.
Mhm.
I just want to also share. We have a walk coming up. It's actually on Saturday, 5K a year, where we raise awareness for leiomyosarcoma,
Nice.
and we this is going to be our fifth one. So it's Saturday. It's here in Houston, Mercedes. But don't worry, I'm coming to
Don't
you.
worry.
You tell me you have one, I'm there.
My family is originally
um,
from I have family from Houston, so don't worry. I
okay,
might I
okay.
might go out there.
We may bring you here. How about that?
I would
We
love
may
that.
bring you here. So we're doing this walk. We are big supporters of the Sarcoma Research Center here in Houston. That is actually at MD Anderson Cancer
Mhm.
Center. Crystal and I, as we both mentioned, had a chance to go and view the lab, and the work that they're doing is very admirable. They're not personally affected; it's just really a passion for them. And I've never met anyone with more passion than me. If I could work in a lab in lab coat and run tests and try and help improve the quality of life or improve drugs, I would be right there. And these people share the passion that, Crystal and I do about the disease. So just for all of the viewers, our walk is Saturday, November 21st. It's here in Houston at 8:30 a.m. at Tom Bass Park. We're going to have some fun things this year. We also want to, of course, always educate people about the disease, let them know what it is, how they can help, and just tell them about it because, some people have this preconception that whenever you have cancer, you can get chemo. And I, have to stop that. For one, my mom was not a good candidate for chemo. I thought she would be, but she was not a good candidate. Her disease had metastasized to her skull, to her thoracic spine, and to her left hip. So she
Mhm.
was only able to get radiation therapy to her spine to prevent paralysis. So that's a misconception. Oh, well, you have cancer, you can get chemo. And then some people don't understand how chemo works.
Yeah.
And just in speaking with the lab, I've learned just how the DNA of Leo is so complex, which is why they can't really get a full grasp on it. It like each cell has a brain of its own and it's doing something different. So it's just like we all agree we could talk for hours and hours, cry, hug, and do all of that, laugh, and start all over again, sharing our stories. Um, but we must do this again sometime next
Yes.
month. We meet on the third Thursday of the month.
Okay.
And our website is the Cynthia Solomon Holmes Foundation. We're at www.curelms.com. I am really pushing to start this hashtag. This is my first time working with hashtags, but it's the Cure LMS hashtag. That's the image. That's what I really want to put out there.
I'll add that
We're
on all my
looking for a
pictures.
cure.
Yeah, I'll add
We
that
need a
on now.
cure. We
Mhm.
need a cure. Our hashtag LMS, Leiomyosarcoma sarcoma. I want to start this Cure LMS movement so people can start saying, what is that? And we're able to give them more information. So I appreciate you ladies just for your stories, for your time. Thank you so much to this awesome, brave lady here, Miss Mercedes,
What?
and this little firecracker. And to Ms. Crystal Williams, thank you, ladies, so much. I appreciate you sharing and just being part of this evening. Thank you to all of our viewers. Please visit us again, like I said, at curelms.com. If you would like to register for the upcoming walk on Saturday, we're at lms5k.org. This is an annual event. We would love to have you. We would love to share with you. And we would love to receive your support to help these patients. Just like Mercedes, she has an awesome story, but as she mentioned, she has anxiety. So she lives with, almost a daily fear of, is this coming back?
Yeah.
There's a way you can help. There's a way you can help. You can advocate. You can help us do that. Crystal, I'm going to steal her line. Is it each one reach one? There we go. I'm taking that. We're going to do that and try and just get this out there so we can get the attention that's needed and get the funding that's needed to help
Amen.
us with research. So again, thank you all for tuning in. This is another edition of WeCare, and we will see you next month. You guys have a wonderful evening. I love you. God bless.
Yeah.
Thank you, ladies.
Bye bye.